Hey guys, Reginald Duck here, back today with another deck profile. So for today I've got my updated Herald of Perfection deck with the new agent support and everything. This deck is really cool. Benten came back to 3, so the deck is now really consistent again. So let's get into it. So for the boss monster, I've got 3 copies of Herald of Perfection, one of the least fair cards ever printed. So basically, just have to ritual summon it, and then it has an effect where you can discard a fairy to negate a spell trap or monster effect and destroy that card. So basically, just the idea is summon this with a load of fairies in hand, negate everything they do, next turn win. So really cool. Yeah, you have to play 3 copies of Cyber Angel Benten. This card is absolutely insane. When it's tributed, you get to search a fairy, and it is not once per turn. With it being level 6 as well, you just tribute it, summon Herald, search Christia, search Diviner, search whatever you need. So really cool. You want to play 3, so if your prep gets Ash, for example, you're still likely to have some of the pieces that you can pre-prep or vice versa. So really cool. 3 copies of Diviner. This card makes the deck so much better because if you already have your Herald combo, this does other stuff as well. It doesn't just search more and more Heralds. It can actually do, like, you know, set up negations, disruptions, stuff like that. So it's really cool. So basically, when it's summoned, you can send a monster from extra deck or hand to graveyard, and then so you just send Trias Hierarchia, which I'll show you in a bit. But you can also send like the Arclight, for example, to get a search, and then this card gains the level of the card sent. So you could also send, for example, Intisco in second to pop a card. Really good. It makes the deck work. Also, it being searchable, you do see it a lot. And also it's level 2, which comes up as well later on. 3 copies of Star Seraph Scepter. I'll just call it stick or chair. So stick, basically, when it's summoned, you can search a chair, and then it's like full combo basically if you open stick chair. Really good. And then when it's used as an Xyz material, you can destroy a card on summon as the other card's effect, so it gives it that effect, and if you do, you draw a card. So really cool. Can destroy your own cards as well, so if you draw like an extra like a prosperity that you don't want to use because you are going to be drawing, you can always set it, pop it with this, or like a hard once per turn card, for example. 3 copies of Sovereignty. So this one, when you summon chair, you summon this draws you a card, and then Scepter will add you another chair, you'll summon that as well, you'll draw another card, then you make a rank 4, a 3 material one. So really cool. They're all light fairies, which is really important, so like a lot of times this can help you play out of like Gozen and stuff. I'll talk about that later. 3 copies of Herald of Orange Light. It's not amazing, but it is a fairy, so I mean, obviously you do go hard neg by using it, but if you do go second and they have something ridiculous, you obviously do need to negate it. Or if you are activating pre-prep, they have Ash, you can always use these, because without pre-prep, a lot of the times you can really struggle, so you really want to be able to stick a Herald first turn. So 3 copies of this. 3 copies of Mystical Shine Ball. We are playing the 1 Venus because you can copy it from extra deck, so just 3 Shine Balls, absolutely insane, especially because it's level 2, gives you a lot of like sprite stuff you could do, which I do some of. And then for the 1-ofs, got 1 Christia. It is searchable. Also, I mean, a lot of times you can just have 4 fairies in grave, special summon this, and just win. So this, backed up by a couple of negates, is sometimes just unbeatable, because whatever they do to try and negate this, you just protect it. 1 copy of Trias Hierarchia. It's not even bad if you draw it, but it is technically a garnet, I guess. So you want to send it from deck with the Diviner, and then this can summon itself back from grave by tributing the Diviner. Diviner would then summon from deck with its other effects it was tributed. So then you would grab the Buten. So then Buten, basically, it's a level 1 fairy tuner. You can then synchro the 9, which is Hierarchia, in this to make the Master Flare or a Baron. So really cool. Also engrave, you can banish it to make one of your level 4 or lower fairies a tuner. So really cool. Can just manipulate numbers engraved for Christia, but it can also help make like Arclight and stuff if you don't have a Diviner in there. So really cool. And then for the last monster, 1 Venus. You don't want to draw this because the Hyperion Synchro. You can copy this by sending it from deck or hand to graveyard, so you don't want to draw it because it's just another card you could have had something else as. So really cool, just send it, then the other one will summon 3 shine balls. Really cool. If you do draw it, it's still a 1 card Saryu just to try and fix your hand, because you wouldn't ideally normal summon this, or it can be a 4 material Appaloosa as well. And then onto the spells, I've got 3 copies of Pre-Preparation of Rites. This card is absolutely insane. Basically it's hard once per turn, searches Herald and the ritual spell as well, so just it's a +1 basically. It's a shame it's hard once per turn, but I mean I can't really complain. Any extra copies you do draw you would set and destroy with the Star Seraph Scepter to then get another draw, so really cool. 3 copies of Preparation of Rites. This is not hard once per turn. You can add the Herald or the Benten, so generally I tend to do it on my drawing first, then search whichever piece I'm missing. Also it can add the ritual spell back from graveyard, but that rarely comes up because the ritual spell banishes itself anyway, so really cool. 3 copies. 3 copies of Dawn of the Herald. Basically it's just your standard ritual spell, except once you've ritual summoned you can banish this on summon to add back one of the materials that you use for the ritual summon. So you can basically search off the Benten and then get the Benten back as well. So that's absolutely broken. It's a shame it banishes because it means you never get the full value of your Preparation of Rites, but I mean, you can't really complain, card's insane. 3 Pot of Prosperity. This has a bit of conflict with, for example, the Star Seraphs, because you can't actually draw the turn you use this, but if you prosp, you don't dig for the Star Seraphs, and if you have the Star Seraphs you just pop the prosp, so I don't feel it really conflicts that much. There is a lot of stuff you don't have to play in the extra deck. For example, like some of the stuff is there to play out of bad hands or to be able to get the right number of monsters for Christia, so if you're not playing for Christia you can get rid of those all the time. So 3 copies of Prosperity. 1 copy of Upstart Goblin. Again, conflicts with Prosperity, but I mean it's literally 1 card, so I don't feel it's too bad, because sometimes if you don't see like a pre-prep, for example, you just can't win, so you would really want to thin the deck. And then I'm actually playing 2 trap cards because I am setting up this unbreakable board, but it loses to every good spell, so it would lose to Droplet, it would lose to Dark Ruler, it would lose to Super Poly. So I am actually playing 2 copies of Anti-Spell in the main deck, because obviously this deck is designed to go hard first every single time. Standby phase, you flip the anti-spell. A lot of the time you also have an Arclight on field, so they can't even chain the Droplet to the anti-spell, because it needs to send from hand to graveyard and it would be banished instead. And obviously they can't Dark Ruler you because you're still in the standby phase. So really cool, just a proper stun card. I don't mind drawing it because I mean it's, even though it's not a fairy to negate with, it has such an unfair effect that I don't feel it matters. So 2 copies of Anti-Spell, bringing the main deck to 40 cards. Onto the extra deck. The main rank 4 you actually want to summon going first is the Evil Swarm Ouroboros, basically. It requires 3 materials, and then you can detach 1 to rip a card from your opponent's hand. It has one where it can, I think it bounces a card and banishes 1 from grave, but I mean generally you go in first, you want to use this to take a card out of your opponent's hand, so it's really good for that. We're also playing 1 Deltaros because this card is insane, especially going second, because like today for example someone flipped Gozen match and it was a bit irritating because I didn't really know how to get out of it. I was thinking for a while, I was like, wait a minute, it's a light, so literally I just Xyz summon this, pop his guy on summon, which you can't respond to because the scepter gives this a destruction effect and you can't respond to the summon of this. So destroy the Gozen match, effect of this, detach, destroy something else, and I just won from there. So that's really cool. Yeah, so that plays around Gozen match, but then also this is absolutely terrible as a card, but you need it to out Rivalry of Warlords, for example. So with it being a light fairy, you can summon it under Rivalry and then get the scepter to pop. Then also, if you summon this to the extra monster zone with 3, so it would be stick, chair, chair usually. If you link this off a gravity controller, it gives you exactly 4 fairies to summon Christia. It's obviously not optimal, but I mean, you can get a Christia out if you do brick quite hard, so really good. Well, it's good for what it is. You would never actually use the effect really, but always read it just in case it comes up, but it's never come up for me. Then onto the links, got 1 copy of Gravity Controller. Just really helps get fairies in grave if you need to, because sometimes you can end on literally no fairies in grave and a Christia in hand otherwise, so you do have to play this. Then we're playing 1 Link Spider, which is really good for making Saryuja or a 4 material Appaloosa, because you can turn your shine balls into different names, because a lot of your link monsters require different names. So you would turn 1 into this, and then you turn 1 into this, and then you use the Venus and the 3rd shine ball, so it's now 4 different names rather than 3 shine balls and a Venus. So really cool. 1 copy of the Spright Elf. This card is actually insane. I'll show you the combo after this. So basically it lets you get an extra material in your turn to like synchro off with and make an arc light, but then also in your opponent's turn it can do something spicy, so I'll show you that at the end. 1 copy of Lambda. Sometimes you just need a link monster that you can summon. Honestly, just you need to get stuff off your board to try and get the Christia out. So just 1 copy of this. And then for your rank 4s, so your link 4s, we've got 1 copy of Saryuja. This is sort of a crutch for this deck sometimes, because if you do brick, oftentimes you can still make a link 4, and I'd rather risk it all than go for a 4 material Appaloosa, because if it's just an Appaloosa, you're probably going to lose anyway, whereas this, you can properly dig, get like an anti-spell or get a pre-preparation of rights, and also it can, if you add the Christia, you can just special summon it no matter how many cards you have in the grave, how many fairies, because of this effect. So it is worth going for this over the Appaloosa if you have a bad hand. If you have the God hand, you would then go for the Appaloosa, because I mean, Herald with 3 in hand, a Christia and an Appaloosa for 4. It's unlikely, but it has happened. Really good card. Just basically negates monster effects once per chain, and it can do it up to 4 times in a turn. 1 copy of Elder Entity Intus. This is part of one of the combos with Spright Elf. So basically, I can just destroy a card in my opponent's turn, or I can destroy a card just going second as well with the Diviner. 2 copies of Arclight. This card is really good, because you can send it to search, but also if you actually synchro summon it, so it's a negate on board, and then you tribute it to negate a card, and then also it goes off when it goes to the grave, so you would then search another ritual monster. So if you've got Herald up, you would use this first, because you can't actually activate the ritual Herald under this. So for example, this is locking your opponent out of like droplet and whatever, and then they do something, you negate it, and then you search for another negate with your Herald of Perfection. So really cool. I do like playing 2. So then for the last 2, got a copy of Baron. You can often summon this on your 3rd turn. You could summon it turn 1, but you would rather go for your full combo. So 1 copy of Baron. So basically, if they don't manage to force out the Spright Elf in their first turn, so you've already been, you can reborn the Mystical Shine Ball, and then on your turn use the effect again to reborn the Diviner, send Benten. Divine would become level 8, and then you just synchro it for this, and obviously you can destroy a card, negate a card, and then just win. So that's really good. Also I guess you could do it going on your first turn, but generally you want to go for the other level 10, which is Master Flare Hyperion. This card is absolutely broken. So basically you can make it with the Hierarchia and the Buten, with it being level 10, and you send Venus, it copies Venus effect to summon 3 Shine Balls, and then you can either link off with it or you can keep it, and then it has another effect, or when your opponent activates a card effect, you can chain this to banish a fairy from grave, banish a card on the field. So basically it's just another interaction. Also it is absolutely massive at 32, so you'd probably summon this in attack position. So that's it for the extra deck. I'm just going to go into a few combos for you. So for this first combo, this is sort of your ideal bread and butter combo. It is quite likely that you draw it, because a lot of these cards could be anything else, like these are just blank. So it is basically a 3-card combo, but then if you draw like 2 preps and a ritual spell, for example, this would still work. So first we're just going to activate these two. For the sake of speed, I'm going to activate them both at once. So I'm going to add the Herald, the Dawn of the Herald. I'm going to add a Benten. There we go. Then you're going to activate the Dawn of the Herald, tributing the Benten to summon the Herald of Perfection. And then Dawn of the Herald is going to add back Benten. Benten is going to search. Going to grab us. For this combo, I'm going to add a Christia. Generally, you would add the Diviner, but we already have it. So then you're going to normal summon the Diviner. You're going to send the Trias Hierarchia. Effect of the Hierarchia, tribute the Diviner to summon itself, and then effect of the Diviner in graveyard, get to summon Buten from deck. There we are. I'm going to synchro these two. The Trias gets banished. I'm going to summon the Master Flare Hyperion. Effect of this, I'm going to send the Venus. And then I'm going to copy its effect and summon 3 Shine Balls from deck. Now I'm going to link these two. I'm going to make the Spright Elf. And I'm going to use the Spright Elf effect. Reborn the Diviner. Synchro these two into an Arclight. And then I've got 4 negates on this. I've got a banish here. I've got a negate on this, which would then search, giving me an extra negate for this. And then also, for the spice in my opponent's turn, I can use the Spright Elf, revive Diviner, Diviner on summon, send Entis for a pop. So this combo gives me 4 negates, 5 negates, which would then get me a 6th negate, which would get me a pop, and this. So 8 interactions off a 3-card hand. So it's really good. You do like to have this in hand, because if they do Dark Rule you, at least you have some interaction, but you really don't want to get Dark Ruled anyway, like any deck. So that's the best combo. You could search basically anything here. I just added the Christia because it's very shiny, but you could add like another Diviner for next turn. You could add a Star Seraph that you're missing, so if you've got stick, get chair, if you've got chair, get stick. But generally you're going to discard these anyway, to use this. So that's it for the first combo. So this is one of those hands I talked about where you'd want to play out of like a brick. So I can do some stuff, but I can't like reach Herald, I can't really get anything. So I do actually get to draw 3 cards in this combo, but if it goes nowhere, then you would always want to just have the cards in the extra deck to be able to sort of play out. So you would go stick, chair, chair, draw, stick, add. Summon chair, draw. So we have still bricked essentially because we're already normal summoned. So then you would set one run, like one of your back row that you don't want. You would summon into the extra monster zone the Star Seraph Sentry. Effect of the Sentry that is given by the stick to destroy this to draw one. So we have still bricked. If you open no parts of the combo, it can be really hard to unbrick. For example, like if you have no Herald, no prep, no pre-prep, no Benten, no ritual spell, the odds are you're not going to get all of them through your 3 draws. So then you would just link this off into the gravity controller, and then you can just literally summon Christia, add back probably a chair, because you need 2 chairs for the combo, you only need 1 stick. So now you've at least got one in hand in case you draw the stick. You would probably just set whatever other brick cards you've drawn. So at least you've ended on a Christia, which some decks will just lose to if they don't draw the imperm or whatever. So that's a combo you can do. That's why I would play this, as well as like out in Rivalry and Gozen, for example. So for this combo, it's just going to be what you can do with only Diviner. So you would normal summon the Diviner because all these cards are bricks. This deck isn't as inconsistent as it looks. You just need to know how to play out of each brick scenario, and that's what your extra deck is for. So you would then send the Hierarchia again. You tribute this, summon Hierarchia, and then you would summon the Buten from deck with the effect of Diviner. Buten, where are you? There we go. Then we're going to synchro these, banishing the Hierarchia to summon Master Flare Hyperion. Effect of Hyperion, we're going to send the Venus to summon all the Shine Balls. There we go. So now you could link these two into Spright Elf, and then Elf can reborn the Diviner, synchro for Arclight. So that gives you a banish, a negate, a floodgate style effect, and then the elf can also bring back this to send Intus. So it's not amazing, so it would be a destruction, a banish, a negate and a search, and obviously you've still got 4 cards in hand. Or instead of going for these, let's just take a little step back. So you've got these 4 out, you could just simply link 1 into Link Spider, link 2 into the Imduk, and then link all 4 into either a 4 material Appaloosa, not recommended, or a Saryuja, and then you would draw 4, put back 3. So there's a lot of good stuff you could draw. You could draw like pre-prep, prep, you could draw a Star Seraph stick, and then you'd be able to special summon it. You could draw the Christia. So there is a lot of good stuff to dig from the deck, so a lot of times it is worth just going for the Skull Dread. So that's it for this combo. This ends my deck profile and combo tutorial. Just in that first combo, when I added the Christia and didn't summon it, I believe there was a point where I only had 4 fairies in grave. I could have summoned the Christia, but then I couldn't have made the Arclight, for example. I believe so. I've not counted, but a lot of times that does happen where you have to choose between summoning the Christia or the Arclight. I just went for the Arclight because it feels like more value. You get a negate, a floodgate, and another negate. But don't forget, you could just, for example, a lot of the time, link off one of your Shine Balls for a Link Spider or whatever, and then just drop Christia. So it feels kind of weird, but it makes 4, so there you go. So please like, comment, subscribe, and thank you for watching.